Your lawyer spent weeks negotiating your contract with all the right clauses, but here's a blunt truth. Once it's signed, nobody's actually going to be enforcing those incredibly complex terms that were agreed on. I help people make money in the music industry, and today we're going to talk about what happens when you sign an agreement with a label and it gets passed on to an admin department. So there's this huge disconnect in the music industry. The people who draft and redline your agreements aren't the ones who are making sure all those complex terms are being enforced. Once your agreement's signed, it often gets passed on to an admin department who usually have little to no understanding of those complex terms that were agreed on beyond their template agreements. I've personally seen this happen so many times. The enforcement gap can pretty much affect anything from royalties to marketing commitment, and it could potentially be costing you thousands in royalties and missed opportunities. Your lawyer will negotiate certain terms on your behalf beyond just a standardized template agreement, and after it's signed and agreed on by both parties, you get passed on to royalty administrators or some department head who wasn't a part of those negotiations. Royalty departments usually work off standardized terms and have systems that don't usually accommodate complex agreements. Now, with that being said, each label usually has their own way of tracking internal deal points, but the main thing to know is that the more important your agreement gets, the harder it is to ensure that it's being enforced from the other side. Also, a lot of these departments have high turnover, meaning knowledge about your particular agreement might be lost when somebody new comes around. The larger the company is, the worse this problem typically becomes. So here's some tips to bridge the gap. Create a contract summary highlighting all of the non-standardized terms in your agreement. Schedule regular check-ins with your label's admin department to make sure nothing's getting overlooked. You should also build relationships with the actual people in these admin departments, because those are the ones that are processing your royalties and will help you if there's ever a problem. Something you should always remember is that a perfectly negotiated agreement that isn't enforced is basically just an expensive piece of paper. Now, with that being said, if you find out that something's been done wrong for the past couple years, you can always go back and talk to the admin department, and 9 times out of 10, they're willing to help you figure it out. But wouldn't it be better if you just didn't need to do that at all and you could make sure that these problems weren't happening in the first place? That's why it's important to not always assume that your contract terms are being followed properly. It's up to you and your team to ensure that you're getting what you agreed on. Follow me for more insights on protecting your music rights.